My grandfather raised his mimosa across the brunch table and smiled at me. My girl, I'm so glad you're enjoying the apartment I got you. The air stilled. My mother's coffee cup froze midway to her lips. My sister looked up from her phone. And my father? My father dropped his fork. It hit the porcelain plate with a sharp, clean clink. The sound of something being found out. I looked at my grandfather. "I live in a basement," I said quietly. His smile faltered. "What?" "I never got any apartment, Grandpa." The silence that followed was the loudest thing I had ever heard at a family table. My grandfather had sent $70,000 4 years earlier specifically to give me a start. My father had every dollar, and had spent 4 years telling me to work harder, to stop expecting handouts, while I scrubbed other people's floors and ate dinner sitting on a basement floor. That Sunday brunch was the day all of it came out. My name's Kayla. I'm 26. After college, I moved back to my hometown with one plan: find a decent apartment, start my design career, build something real. I had a portfolio, I had skills, I had absolutely no money. My grandfather, Dad's father, was the kind of man who showed love through action. Quiet, steady, generous in ways he never announced. He had saved his whole life. He wanted to give his grandchildren a real start. When I graduated, he sent my father $70,000. Gift for Kayla's condo, the bank record said. What my father told me was something very different. Try flipping burgers first. Build character. I believed him. I rented a basement, yellow walls from the previous tenant's cigarettes, a boiler beside my bed, cash rent because the landlord didn't believe in banks. More nights than I can count, I eat dinner sitting on the floor. And I told myself this was just how it started. This was just what independence looked like. My grandfather had no idea. For 4 years, he thought I was thriving in the apartment he had given me. My father had told him I was grateful, that I had surprised him with it, that I hadn't even called to say thank you because I was so overwhelmed with happiness. All of it, a lie, built on $70,000 that was never mine. Sunday brunch. Same restaurant, same table, same family. Grandpa raised his mimosa and smiled across at me. "My girl, I'm so glad you're enjoying the apartment I got you." My mother reached for her, hands trembling just enough to spill a drop. My sister stopped chewing. Dad coughed, then reached for his water like he had something stuck in his throat. I looked around at all of them. Then I looked at my grandfather. "I never got any apartment, Grandpa. I've been living in a windowless basement for 4 years. The only thing I've gotten from this family in a decade was silence." He pushed his chair back slightly. "I wired the down payment to your dad 4 years ago. He told me he surprised you with it after graduation." My mouth went dry. Dad's face had gone pale, ashen. My mother turned to him slowly. "You said you helped her find a cute place downtown," she whispered. "Dad," I said, locking eyes with him. He shifted. I meant to." "No," I cut in. "You meant to keep it." A gasp from somewhere at the table. Grandpa sat back, knuckles white against the edge, looking like he'd been sucker punched. I stood up. "Since we're celebrating birthdays, maybe it's time we all stop pretending." I walked out. Behind me, chairs scraped back. Footsteps stumbled. I didn't stop. The hallway outside was quiet. Inside me, anything but. I could still feel every pair of eyes from that table. The shock, the guilt, the discomfort they finally deserved. Grandpa caught up with me in the parking lot. He looked older than he had 20 minutes earlier. "You seriously never got the apartment?" I shook my head. I've been renting a basement from a woman who smokes so much her walls are yellow. There's a boiler next to my bed. I've eaten dinner sitting on the floor more nights than I can count. He swallowed. Your father said you didn't want help, that you were being independent. I laughed. Not a kind laugh. I asked him for a job lead once. He said, and I quote, "Try flipping burgers first. Builds character." Grandpa's eyes dropped. He said you were ungrateful, that you moved into your dream place without even thanking him. I didn't know there was anything to thank him for. Grandpa looked at me. I want to fix this. I folded my arms. How? I want to see where you live. I stared at him. Why? Because if it's as bad as you say, and that money disappeared the moment it hit his account. Grandpa looked at the floor, then back at me. Not anymore. He stood. Tomorrow, we're going to the bank. And after that, your father and I need to have a very long conversation. The next morning, Grandpa was already on the phone when I woke up. I don't care if it's Sunday, Howard. Find the paperwork. I want every transfer traced. And I want a letter drafted stating I no longer authorize Daniel to act on my behalf in any financial capacity. Cold steel. A tone I had never heard from him before. By noon, we were in a downtown bank office. The banker clicked through records. I do see the transfer here, from your account to Daniel, marked as gift for Kayla's condo. She clicked again. 5 days later, my father had moved the entire amount into a separate investment account, under name. No mention of me, no note. My hands crawled into fists in my lap. Grandpa looked at the screen, then asked calmly, "Can I get a printed copy of all that?" When the banker stepped away, he turned to me. He betrayed you, and he lied to me. This isn't family drama, Kayla. It's theft. I nodded slowly. Don't worry, he added. I'll handle it. I shook my head. No, I said quietly. We'll handle it. That afternoon, we drove to my parents' house. Grandpa rang the doorbell. Dad opened it, half confused, half annoyed, until he saw both of us. We gathered in the living room. Grandpa placed a thick folder on the coffee table. Dad didn't look at it. You told me Kayla was living in the apartment I bought her, but the money never made it there. You took it. You stole it, and you lied to your daughter and to me. Dad chuckled nervously. Come on, Dad, you're blowing this. She's been living in a basement. Grandpa's voice sharpened. Eating on the floor, working 2 jobs while you used her money to pad your investments. I was holding it for her future. Don't. My voice cut in sharp. You told me I was lazy, entitled, that I didn't deserve help. Meanwhile, you were living off the money that was meant to give me a chance. Grandpa slid the bank records across the table. I've already spoken to my attorney. We'll pursue legal action if necessary, but you are going to pay back every cent, and you are going to explain yourself in front of the family. Dad's jaw clenched. Mom whispered, Daniel, tell me this isn't true. He said nothing. The following Sunday, brunch was held at the same table, same faces. But everything had changed. I wasn't seated near the end anymore, squeezed between an ice bucket and a chair that didn't match. I sat beside Grandpa, at the head of the table. His hand rested lightly on mine as we waited. When Dad walked in, he looked like he'd aged 5 years in a week. Grandpa stood. I'm going to keep this short. 4 years ago, I sent money, my own savings, to help Kayla start her adult life. I was told she received it. I was told she was thriving. That was a lie. Daniel took that money. He invested it, hid it, and let his daughter suffer in silence, making her feel unworthy while pretending to be a responsible father. He placed a document in front of my dad. Read this out loud. Dad's hands shook as he opened the letter. To my family, I stole from my daughter Kayla. I took funds meant for her future and lied about their purpose. I accept full responsibility and will pay back the full amount within 6 months. I am deeply sorry." When he finished, there was only silence. Not gasps, not applause, just a heavy collective breath. And for the first time in years, I looked at my father and didn't feel small. I felt seen. That night, on Grandpa's porch under the stars, he said, "I still can't believe you never asked for anything." "I was done asking," I replied. He nodded. "I'm sorry I didn't check sooner." "I'm not," I said after a beat, "because now I know who's really in my corner." He smiled. "You're not going back to that basement." "I know. I found you a place downtown. Real windows, light wood floors." I laughed quietly. "That already sounds like a mansion." "You deserve it." Maybe I did. But more than the apartment, more than anything, I deserve to stop fighting for scraps.